Good to see everybody here tonight, and I don't know about you, but I'm celebrating that this is the 12th week. There's a few more of these fourth step sheets if somebody didn't get one. There's, I don't know, about 15 of them left, so I just mentioned that. Out of curiosity, how many people were here for all 12? Oh, it's not bad, not bad. I was one. If anybody's here, this is the first time for this type of a format meeting, then welcome. We're here tonight, as I've said every week, to have fun. I always like to think about AA meetings. That's the point, is to have some fun. And the 12th step, like all the other 11, has to do with God. Okay, so we got those two things out of the way. During the meeting, if you want to have coffee, go to the bathroom, whatever, feel free to get up. We're very relaxed. It's just a casual atmosphere, so we're just going to sit back and enjoy ourselves. I was in Montana at an AA convention last night and came back today, and I'm dragging. So if it goes slow, we'll still make it, I can guarantee you. And the drunks in Montana, they have the same problem with alcohol that the drunks in Tampa have. You know, they're going to jail, puking, getting fired, getting sick, all that stuff, and they're staying sober exactly the same way up there that we're doing down here. They're working these steps, and they're transforming their world, and they're happy, and they're celebrating life, and that to me is what these steps are all about. When we get to step 12, we're really sort of at the peak of the progress that we can make in a spiritual program by talking about having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. Not a result, the result. This is the point of doing the steps, is to have this spiritual awakening. And so, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and practice these principles in all our affairs. And when we look at the, just for those of you that are starting out reading our literature, the Big Book and our 12 and 12 are the main volumes that we use. And we find that the Big Book spends almost all of its time talking about how to go on a 12-step call, which was back before the treatment centers were around. You know, you got the drunk while he or she was still drinking, and you started sobering them up and talking to them about the idea of stopping drinking. And it's a wonderful how to come up with ideas, how to not push too hard. It really is a terrific discussion on different techniques to gradually lead someone in to having an open mind about trying AA, talk about the fatal nature of the illness, but freely talk about the spirituality of the program. We don't try to hide that. We just make sure that they understand that the door is wide open for any belief system that you have. You can still get in here. You can make AA your higher power. They're just suggested steps. For now, just go to meetings. And so we just leave the doorway wide open to come in. And if you're new and you're going to be talking to somebody else that's new, you might want to look at the chapter Working with Others in the Big Book. And then in the 12 and 12, you get a much less emphasis, because Bill really did a good job when he wrote the chapter Working with Others. So when you get over to the 12 and 12, you really find a bigger discussion about spiritual awakening and pages and pages of practicing these principles in all our affairs. So that's where I'm going to wrap up with tonight. But what he talks about in the 12th step is that we're going to have this thing called a spiritual awakening. And it's not a scary thing. It's not some thing that only happens to a saint on top of a mountain. It happens to us. And it's not as earth-shattering as you might think. What it is a profound personality change. That's what's going to take place. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you've been essentially a very negative person, and you're kind of glum, and when anybody talks to you, you just go, well, I can't get a job, and I just don't see anything for me, then I remember that very well. I mean, I remember that. That was how it looked to me. And so that's what we're talking about. That's your personality. Mr. Sparkle. You know what I mean? It's like... There was a guy up in Washington, and he told, and it was funny. He said, "The 13th step isn't what you think it is. The 13th step is don't hang around sad asses," and that's what I think most of us were when we got here. That was how we saw it, and that was our personality. It was just negative and all that. And then, lo and behold, we come back 6 or 7 months later, and we're talking to this person, and they're, "How's it going?" "Oh man, I got this home group, and I'll tell you, my sponsor and I are going to the football game, and I'm going over here, and I'm looking forward to this." And you go, "Is this the same person?" And in some sense, it really isn't. This is a new person. This is someone who is now seeing the world differently and has had a personality change that has been the result of working these steps. So the transformation took place spiritually. That's what it means. It's not a psychological thing. You didn't study your childhood and go, "Oh, I see now. Okay, so now I'm okay." We just took these steps and suddenly found, we don't know when it's coming. Bill writes that this spiritual awakening is a gift, and our higher power is going to give it to us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. But our job is to make ourselves ready to receive it. This gift may have been available all our lives. This higher power might have been knocking on your door every day saying, "Hi, want this gift of a new personality change?" You're going, "Get lost, will you, man? I got to have a drink. I don't need anything like that." And so we weren't prepared to receive it. That's what the 12 steps are designed. We go through these first 11 steps in order to prepare ourselves to be open to have this transformation take place. And I like to think about it sometimes. It's like you move out in the country, change your mailing address, and you find out you have to put up a mailbox on post, you know what I mean, way out by the road. And for the practicing alcoholic, that could be too much. Put up a mailbox way out there? Yeah, you got to put up a mailbox. Well, just tell them to throw it on the lawn. And then we don't get any mail. You know what I'm saying? Because the post office has rules, and they're not going to throw the mail on the lawn. So we haven't made ourselves prepared to receive mail, and none arrives. And we're going, nobody writes me anymore. What's going on? I pay my taxes. How come I don't get, you know what I mean? And we're just whining away, clueless as to what the nature of the problem is, that we haven't done the work in order to make ourselves ready to receive the mail that is going to come to us. In the same sense, we have to do the work to have this gift that's going to arrive. And this work of the 12 steps is essentially to make ourselves have an open mind and to have cleared all the things that could block this wonderful gift. And so that's what we'll talk about. Funny thing is, as Bill starts talking about that in the 12 and 12, he just reviews all the steps. He says, let's look back and see what we've been doing in order to get to this point. And so that's what I plan on doing now, is we'll just quickly go through and see, now, what have we been doing all these 11 weeks to get ourselves up here so that we could have this wonderful gift happen to us. And of course, we started out with the entrance, and I'm just repeating myself, but there are new people here. We started out by surrendering in our first step, which is the doorway into spirituality. In order to get in and start living in this way of life, we have to abandon the other one. We have to say, I'm powerless over alcohol. And you have to give up totally the idea that you could be going to AA and then going back and finagling with your powerlessness. Maybe as I get older I won't be powerless. Maybe up in Canada they'll invent some thing that alcoholic rats are taking and it's powdered carrots, and maybe they'll come up with that, and then I won't be powerless over alcohol anymore, and I'll go to the health food store and get lots of powdered carrots and try a little beer with powdered carrots. If your mind is going like this, we haven't done the first step. We're using AA until they find the cure for alcoholism so we can go back. And so nothing will happen. We'll find that we're not changing. We're miserable. We're going to meetings. We're not happy. And we're saying to ourselves, AA doesn't work. And it can't work if you block it. That's the point. Anybody could prove that AA doesn't work. Any new person could sit here and just put their arms like this and go, I'm not letting this crap in. And you have all the power in the world. There's no way we could get that in. And you could walk out of here proving that AA doesn't work. But it's going to work. It's going to work later on because alcohol isn't going to leave you alone. And alcohol is going to get a hold of you and go, I understand you don't like AA. You're damn right I don't like it. Well, let me work on you for a while and we'll see if we can get you warmed up for AA. And it just starts beating you. You remember what it was. You remember the last time you drank. Well, it's been working on its muscles. And next time you come back out there, it's going to take you down to places you didn't know you were ever going to go. And at some point, alcohol gets us ready to have an open mind. And when that happens, that's our gift. We were selected out of the 10 alcoholics out there. Only one gets called into AA, and the other 9 are going to die drunk or get killed or commit suicide. So we're the lucky 10% that gets called, whether it's by a policeman that pulled you over for a DWI and you thought it was the worst thing in the world, and little did you know he was an angel from your higher power who selected you to be rescued from the disease of alcoholism. And you didn't really thank him that night. If you recall, you felt he was from the devil that was out to get you and pick on you like all the cops have been doing all this time. So I emphasize this surrendering because without it, nothing will happen. And it has to be 100%. We have to understand, if you are new, that when we say we're powerless when there's no alcohol in our system. It isn't so much that when we drink we get all screwed up. It's when we're sober and we know everything about alcoholism, we still cannot avoid taking the first drink. That's the insanity and the power of the disease. And a couple of weeks go by, you know you're an alcoholic. If you ever drink again, you're going to die, lose your job, your family. And guess what the words are coming out of your mouth? Can I have a beer, please? That's what's coming out of your mouth. And your head is going, you know, I'm an alcoholic. This is going to kill me. Yeah, I know, but boom, 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 boom. So we're powerless over taking that first drink. And that's what AA is going to give us. It's going to give us a daily reprieve from that type of thought, from that kind of pressure, from any of that. It is a complete freedom so that we can just live our lives and alcohol is not bothering us on a daily basis. It's just not there. So when we surrender in this first step and say we're powerless, we have to see immediately, if you just took the English language and you go, well, if you're powerless, then the only way to solve that is to find a power to take care of that powerlessness, and that's precisely what AA is all about. And it says that in the big book in the 12 and 12. The point of the program is to enable you to find a power to take care of being powerless. And this power can be your AA group, your sponsor, a squirrel in the tree, the ocean, whatever. It doesn't matter. It just has to be someone other than you. That would be the only thing I would say that wouldn't work too well as a higher power. So we come to believe in this. We begin to change our mind and all of our old ideas about a higher power in the second step, and we start developing this open mind, and we start seeing other people in AA. We hear their stories, and we go, God, that gal's just like me, and now she's talking about how happy she is, found this higher power. Maybe I'll give it a try, and we start to have an open mind. And once we get that, we can look at the third step and realize, well, if I'm going to have an open mind about this, and if my only problem is I'm powerless, I ought to make this new power the center of my whole life. And that's what we do in the third step. We make a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. And that takes us from being self-centered to God-centered. And as soon as that happens, everything starts looking different. We're no longer the center of the universe. God's the center of the universe, which is the true center. And when we look at things from that perspective, they start making sense. We start seeing the world as it really is. But we only made a decision in that third step. We don't really get anything turned over. We made a decision to do the rest of the steps. As I said earlier, the third step would be like you make a decision to get an engineering degree in college. And 4 years later, you have the engineering degree. You see what I'm saying? So in the third step, we make a decision. And now we got to go, it doesn't take 4 years, but we got to go through the actions that are going to enable us to turn our lives over. And the main thing we have to do is get the things in us that are blocking this power. It's inside of us. It's always been there. It was born inside of us. It's the part of us that can't stand the way we live, that really is so ashamed of our past. It's the good in us. It is that part that just has never been nurtured and has been there all the time. And we tried to kill it, we tried to deny it, but it's been there. It's the part that wants you to try this program and wants you to become the person that you can. And so we find out that character defects, instinctual drives, are blocking us from getting in touch with all of this. So we got to inventory them. And we got a wonderful thing. That's what these sheets were for. It's all laid out because we're all the same. There's nobody in here that has an extra character defect that no one else has. You know what I mean? And we all felt we were so unique. And we're just not. I think I've shared, well, I don't think I'll go through that about sex with a cow again, but we'll leave that part out. Get the fifth step tape and you'll hear what that's all about. So none of us has, they're just standard. They come with the instinctual drives, and we all have the same drives for sex, security, and a place in society. And we thought that meeting those demands was how you would achieve serenity and happiness. And everything from grammar school on, every commercial, everybody that you talk to, most adventure books that you read, that's what they tell you. If you're going to be a success, you're going to have to make enough money and get enough sex and have enough relationships and enough power to meet the demands inside of you for those things, and then you'll be happy. And, of course, we all know as you move along, you get a little bit more. That's not enough. You finally put $10,000 in the bank, and now you're worried somebody's going to steal it. And inflation comes along. You really need 20. Now you need 40. Well, I got sex 3 times this week. I still want more. And this can go on. And you just go, well, that's not enough. That's not enough. And go from this relationship to that relationship. And we're just constantly seeking. Now I got promoted. I'm in charge of the entire company myself. I'm the boss now. And it still isn't enough. And we slowly realized that that stuff isn't working. Now what was working for us was alcohol. That was really working. It was our chemical higher power. And it really made us feel comfortable with ourselves as long as it was inside of us. But it didn't last. And it finally turned on us, and we're left back with the problem that we had in the beginning. We can't stand ourselves, and we don't like being alone in our own skin. And we're always wanting something to change. And so we travel around the country, get a geographic cure, a relationship cure, a job cure. It'll be different over here. And we've been missing the boat. Nobody told us. They kept all this stuff a secret. I never heard anybody telling me that, hey, you shouldn't be out there chasing those material dreams. There's a spiritual way of reducing those demands so that they don't bother you. And no, I never heard anybody say that. Never heard that anywhere. Never heard that at all. You know what I mean? It just said, oh, lust, well, here she is. You know, if you wear this cologne, you'll have 10 of those babes all over you. Okay. And so we were not free at all. We had no freedom whatsoever. And there's a discussion about that the more we can become dependent on this higher power, the more independent we'll be. And this independence and this freedom we're free from our character defects. Those are the things that were in charge. You think you were running your own life? That you just went along and made these decisions? Okay, I'm going to be over here, I'm going to be over there. I don't think so. Not self-centered alcoholic. You were sitting at your desk at 2 p.m, and the boss said, okay, I want this project finished by 4. You're going, right. And then lust said, okay, it's time to get out of here. We got to get over to the massage parlor. We got to get out of here. We got to do that. And you just leave. And you get fired. And you go back, you go, what'd you do that for? Well, I was trying to stay there. I was trying not to drink. I was trying not to steal. I was trying not to do these other things. And we just kept doing them, especially drinking. So we can see that we were like being totally controlled, and yet we don't want to be dependent on a higher power. And this dependent on higher power is what's going to give us total independence. That's the paradox of turning our lives over. Then we talked about the fact that as we look at these blockages and get them all down on paper, that we rationalize a lot and we distort things and we do all that. So how do we know that whatever we write on here is worth anything? You don't. And it really only has two dimensions. It's just got this way and that way. And you can look at it and go, yeah, that's me, all right. We really can't see it like it is until we share it with someone else. And that's a age-old thing, that the only way to see the truth about ourselves is to share it with someone else. And the fifth step shows us that. And it makes us trust people. We can stop holding resentments. We can start forgiving. It is a wonderful practice, and it continues in the 10th step, where we admit we're wrong as soon as possible. So the sharing of ourselves with another human being starts to become part of our lives, generally with our sponsor. And we're calling them up, and we're going, I've been afraid all day. Well, let's talk about it. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And we can generally get to the bottom of it. And it puts it in perspective. It's not this secret thing that can torment us all the way through the night, and it's too big for us to handle. So we stop handling life alone. That's the point. We weren't supposed to make it through life alone. We're supposed to have help. And this help is our higher power. And so we don't have to be the Lone Ranger anymore. We don't have to be overpowered by events. How often we say to ourselves, it's just too much for me. And the next thing that happened, whoa, that's right, it's too much for you, but it's not too much for you and your higher power. You're bringing infinite power on this stuff. It becomes relatively comfortable to have all these things happen. You can just go, okay, God, let's see what we're going to do with this one. And we're not in charge of it anymore. There's tremendous freedom in working hard to go down this spiritual path. So we share these things, and then we see that we have these 6 and 7, which are these epic steps right in the middle of it. We're entirely ready to have God remove these defects and humbly ask Him to remove these defects, and we suddenly see that there's a lot more to AA than not drinking. I mean, this is talking about becoming perfect. Going to have God remove every character defect that I have. And I remember backing off on that one. You know what I mean? It was like I was going to go out and go up to Mount Dora and climb a mountain. You know what I mean? That was my goal. And somebody said, well, we're going to go to Everest instead. And I'm going, no, I wasn't. I just wanted to go up there. It's 300 feet high in Mount Dora, and I was going to go about that high. And they're going, no, the plans have been changed. We're going to Everest. And that wasn't what I had in mind. And when I came to AA, I wasn't thinking in terms of getting rid of every character defect. I mean, what would that be? And so it's very awe-inspiring, to say the least, to suddenly be sitting down and going, you talking about me actually trying to become sort of a total spiritual person? And it's mind-blowing. And then we get into it, and then we go, well, maybe I think I would like to try that. And then our character defects start talking to us. You go, wait, you want to be Mother Teresa? Is that what you want? You want to, like, live in the jungle? You don't even have your own bathroom? Are you sure you want to get into this kind of stuff? This is pretty extreme. We're entirely ready to have God removed. Why don't you just settle for progress? And then we run in the book somewhere. Doesn't it say progress, not perfection? Somewhere. I got to get out of this deal. And so we settle, as the 12 and 12 said, for as much perfection as will get us by. That's what we want. I would like to have the reputation of an upstanding, solid, good guy. I don't want to actually be an upstanding, solid, good guy. I just like to have the reputation of that. I want to save some wiggle room. I want to still have the right to be bad once in a while. You know what I'm saying? So I'd like to get rid of 90% of my lust. That's a big step forward. Okay? And I'd like to get rid of 90% of my gossiping. But there's a couple stories that just have to be told. And I'd like to get rid of 90% of my envy and 90% of my greed. But I want to save 10%. Who's going to take care of me? You know what I mean? So we keep setting these interim goals in there, and we find out that the only help that's available is perfect help. You can't pray to God to be semi-honest. Please help me be more honest than I am now. Please help me to be more sober than I am now. You know what I'm saying? It's just, so half measures are not available in a spiritual program. So we come to grips with, we're going to spend the rest of our lives trying to become more willing to have something else removed. And then we find out that in order to have it removed, we're probably going to have to go through some pain. Oh man, this is getting more complicated. Because humility involves coming up with another part of us where we're not going to get our way. You know, I want it to be this way, but now I'm going to turn that part of me over to a higher power. And I find that that's going to be hard. And in the beginning, we learn about humility through humiliation. And then as time goes on, we understand that there's great freedom, there's peace of mind, there's all kinds of wonderful things that happen if we're willing to go through an attitude of humility. In 8 and 9, we clear up the wreckage of the past, go back, make amends, best that we can. Learning from that how to live in harmony with people, how to understand what it means for me to be self-centered, willful, out of control, and go inflict that on Tampa. On the traffic in the morning, on the waitress in the coffee shop, on the lady in the dry cleaning place. What do you mean it's not bad? I mean, man, you know we are great at that. And we leave people like, everywhere we go. When we get through with them, they're, oh, Jesus. Oh, ooh, ah. And, and then we wonder why the world is so tough to be in. And it turns out that we know how to bring out the worst in people. So everywhere we go, people are behaving their worst. And we come home at night going, man, there isn't a nice person anywhere. And as we learn what we're doing here, and we can go out and be an entirely different person. We've learned from this. Our goal now isn't greed. It isn't to go get all these things. We find out that, guess whose job it is to take care of us? God's. Well, what's our job? To do God's will. He may have you out taking care of some drunk all night tonight. Not taking care of yourself at all. You're just out taking care of some drunk. And you're going to find that you're going to feel better about yourself than if you had gone out and made 3 sales and put some more money in the bank. And it's a very dramatic transformation to start realizing that my true function is to be useful in the world. All my needs are already being met if I would just see them. If I would suddenly realize I'm being totally taken care of spiritually by my higher power. And if I will apply myself to these principles, I will see that what I'm going to be doing is giving to the world instead of taking. And I go, well, I don't have anything to give. Yes, you do. You just have to get in touch with it. Oh, okay. I mean, this stuff was mind-blowing to me in the beginning. It sounded like double talk. I don't have anything to give. Yes, you do. You can't see it yet. Oh, all right. And so I'm just following what people are sharing with me, and that was what that was to see how we did damage people so that we can stop doing that. And then making amends, because that is the right thing to do. That is a very spiritual step forward, and we finally are free as we can be. We can't get total freedom if it's going to be at the expense of other people, but we're free from the past. And we got to get free from the past in order to live in the now. You can't live today, October 1st, and drag the 90s with you. With all the people you don't want to run into, all the embarrassing situations that you're still thinking about. This is what this 10th, or the 8 and 9 is designed to get us free from that so that we can come and live a day at a time. And we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. That one of the primary purposes of spiritual day is to remain undisturbed. Not to gain anything. It's just, if we remain undisturbed, we will, number one, be in touch with our higher power and our intuitive level so that we can receive any guidance that we were going to receive that day. We're going to receive some inspiration that we wouldn't have been able to. Like you're working on a deal and you're struggling, you just can't figure it out. And you take a break and you go over, sit in a spiritual, quiet place for a while, and you just get centered. And now you're walking back, and all of a sudden you go, hey, I got it. And this idea appears. You weren't trying to have the idea. You were just getting ready to push the elevator button. And all of a sudden it goes, I know. I'll call the so-and-so, boom, and then put them in touch with, oh, man, isn't that great? And you almost say, why didn't I think of that? You know what I mean? Because it didn't come from you. It just arrived, like a gift arrives. And you go, oh, call this guy, call that guy. Cool, okay, boom, and off we go. Well, when we're disturbed, that'll never happen. That'll never happen. The message is being sent, but we can't hear it because we're listening to resentment. And resentment's got, and we say to the resentment, maybe I ought to answer that. Forget it, man. We got to stay mad. And so that's the point of this being undisturbed. That saves us from treating people badly, having to make amends. It puts us in a forgiving mode so that when people, they're having a bad day, so they cut you off, or they were rude to you over here, or they did this, we can forgive them. Now, why the hell would we forgive them? We used to keep score about all that stuff, and then we're going to get even. We forgive them because we want to win. That's why we forgive them. We want to win. I want to go through the end of the day happy. That's all I want. I'm not out to compete with anybody. I just want to be happy at the end of the day. And if I'm happy at the end of the day, then I don't have a resentment, and I don't care. Oh, okay, well, I guess you did do that. Well, it's all right with me. You were probably having a hard time. Your wife gave you a hard time. Your husband left you. Then you got a new illness that you just found out about, and so you're having a hard day. And I can just let you go. I don't have to keep track of you. I don't have to fix you. I don't have to get even. I don't have to do any of those things. Wonderful plan for a day. And a day well spent, as we talked about, changes the past and it changes the future. When you put one of those days together and then you think about the future consisting of thousands and thousands of days just like this, you can hardly wait for the future. When you put together a crappy day, you're terrified about the future. You just go, oh my God, there's going to be 1,000 more days like this where I'm nervous all day, where I have a resentment, where I'm choking. I don't want to think about the future. And we make this experiment and try this and get one of these days and see we have a new set of priorities, and the future starts looking comfortable. And that's the wonderful thing about living in the now. It just takes care of the past and the future. Then we talked about prayer and meditation and how those are the two main techniques of lifting our mind out of self-centeredness into this higher level. Bill calls it the fourth dimension of existence. You can call it inspiration, your intuitive level. You can call it being guided by something good inside of you rather than by your character defects and the lower instinctual drives, that you have been able to rise above them and be guided towards something more noble and something that's not so selfish, that you have a lot to give, and it becomes a giving mode. And prayer and meditation are techniques to enable us to open the channel between us and this loving spirit that's inside of us so that we can be just filled with it and not be running out all the time. Did I talk about that in terms of an air in a tire last time? Yes, okay. That it really is like that. We have a cushion between us and the world, and it's a free cushion. All we have to do is prepare ourselves for it. And it's just like putting air in your tires. If that bleeds out, then the tire's going to get cut from the inside out, and that's just what a slip looks like. That there isn't anything protecting us from the world. We don't have a cushion because we didn't take time out to read the 24-hour day book, to say a few serenity prayers, to read a little bit of spirituality, to put this cushion around us so when the first person insults you, it's not the end of the world. You say to yourself, ooh, that hurt. Maybe they're having a rough day. But with no cushion, it's like, what'd you say? I mean, it's too late. It's over. Oh, I said that. And it's like 3 days later, and your lawyer says, you know what I mean? And nobody wins. You're out $350, and the dentist is working on some teeth. And if we had had a cushion, it wouldn't have happened. So then we get to this 12th step, and we have this spiritual awakening. We become aware that something has happened inside of us so that we are able to do, feel, and see things in a way that we couldn't before. And the only way to attribute that, since nothing has happened, we didn't get promoted, we don't have more money, we didn't get over some disease, our relationship didn't straighten out, we just feel better. And we also feel stronger, and we feel more positive about things. And as we look around the world, it looks a lot better. And it starts to make sense. And we see that, yeah, there's order in this world. This whole thing fits together when we can see it at the spiritual level. And we are in a position to carry this message at that point, because this is one of the great things that enables us to continually have this contact. And I'm not going to go into that in any great length, because it comes naturally. We just feel it. And if you're new, it may have started already, even in your second month. I can remember I had 2 months. I mean, I'm like shaking. I'm still people would think I have an hour. I'm just... But I've been here going to a meeting every night for 2 months, and I'm sitting there, and I see a guy come in who reminds me of me. I mean, he's looking around like, oh, he's just about to have a heart attack because he's going to take a seat in with other people. And he decides to get a cup of coffee. Big mistake, because his shakes aren't over yet, and he's back there, and he gets the cup and fills it, and half of it goes out, and then he's looking to see if anybody looks, and you look down to make sure that he didn't see you looking at him, spill the coffee all over the place. And he gets a third of a cup back to the table and decides he really didn't want any coffee anyway, and just lets it sit there because there's no way he can get it up to his mouth. And then at the end of the meeting, he just leaves. And you were going to say hello to him, but you're not up to that yet. But when you go home that night, you're just thinking like, I hope he comes back next week. And then you come back next week, and in spite of all your problems, you've had this thought, I hope he comes back next week. And next week you come there and he's not there. And you feel a little sadness. You just, I was hoping that guy, because this time I'm going to say hello. And about 15 minutes into the meeting, the door opens, and here he comes in, and he's still sober, and you can't believe it. In spite of yourself, inside of you, you're going, yay! What's this going on? You're cheering for someone else? You are cheering for someone else? In the middle of all your problems? You're just looking over there going, I hope you make it. What is that? That's the part of you that AA and the 12 steps want to draw out. Because that's who you really are. That's the part that never gets to play in the game, because your ego is so intent on you. Don't think about that guy. You might have to help him. And then who's going to be getting you over to get some money, or you're too tired. Blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And then the real you is going, shut up there. I want to go help that guy. I want to go talk to him. And we start cultivating. That is what is coming out as the result of these steps. You're getting in touch with the real you. And we go over and talk to the person. And maybe they go out for ice cream afterwards, and you find out who he is or who she is, and they've got a life just like you did. And until you had that conversation, they were just a stranger, a face. And now, you came from up there in Tennessee? Oh, well, wow, so did I. Pop, pop, pop. And you start making this connection, and you're not alone. And you're interested in somebody else. And as the months go on, you know what it's like when you bond with other new people. Man, 10 years later, you're talking about the class of 90. And we all got sober in 90. And I remember you, Mary, and I remember you came in. You had a broken leg. Ah, ha, 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 ha. And we're all... And you got this camaraderie. You know what I'm saying? Because you were all cheating death together. And you all had that same enemy. And you all were in that hellhole. And now you're getting out. And it's a great celebration. And it comes natural that you want to share it. You just want to run over that next new guy and just go, let me tell you. And the funny thing is, that next new gal or guy will really connect with somebody with just 2 or 3 weeks. You know what I mean? They talk to me and the old timers around here. I've been around 25 years. And they go, what is that? You know, the guy probably didn't like alcohol at all. I mean, it couldn't be. But somebody 3 weeks. Well, what's the deal? What do you deal? What meetings do you go to if you only have 3 weeks? I'll go where you're going. And so there's a great connection that is made, and that's what this 12th step is. And then it talks about practicing principles in all our affairs. And we expand it out. We want to, a lot of people get very comfortable in AA. They say, the AA people understand me. When I'm in an AA meeting, I feel great. You know what I mean? Because the people there love me, they trust me, and they're not. But the people out there, they're an entirely different class of human beings than members of AA. They're still the mean people. You know what I mean? We couldn't practice those principles out there. Well, the program is saying, yes, you can. You can just love those people. You can make them all honorary members of AA in your mind. So that when you walk into the restaurant, it's just like one big, well, there's 25 tables of AA people. I mean, they're human beings, and they respond to spirituality and to being in harmony and all these principles in a very positive way. And we just can be ourselves with other people, not just in AA. And we can learn that we can spread this joy. We're not going to go out and sober up these people. They're not alcoholics. We're just going to spread joy out there. And we're going to find that people are attracted to us. Employers want to hire us. Why do they want to hire us? Because our attitude is very positive. People are suddenly making us offers at work. John, could you come in? We were thinking about moving you up to management. You go, what the hell's that all about? Well, you're cheerful. You're in harmony with your coworkers. And there's an energy about you that is attracting people to see your talents. And besides, now you're not screwing off at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You're gone. You're taking on the responsibility of this, and you're staying. You know, I'm going to stay an extra hour tonight. We got to get this thing finished, and you're responsible. And there's a tremendous attraction towards us as we move in that direction. And what the 12th step goes on to do is it says, no matter what the problems are, we have this solution, these 12 steps, and working with your sponsor. And we always come back to that. And I always I was asking Diana if I told this story, but it illustrates this in terms of my own life. And that was, I think I've been sober 2 years. I went to a meeting every night, and then I got thrown out of the Marine Corps. And I didn't think that should happen. You know what I mean, think about it. You're going to a meeting every night, and life is going to be great. Now I'm thrown out of the Marine Corps. I didn't get promoted. I'm out, and I got 6 kids and no money and no job because I didn't plan for that. I had a big resentment, and I'm at a meeting, and the leader said, does anybody have a topic? Which I hate. But I would never raise my hand. But that night, I was full of resentment, and I raised my hand and said, yeah, I got a topic, getting thrown out of the Marine Corps. He said, I don't think that's a good topic. Yes, it is a good topic. Well, there's no one here that relates. It's a topic. He asked you if you want a topic. I gave you a topic. Get thrown out of the Marine Corps. Okay. All right, everybody, the topic tonight is getting thrown out of the Marine Corps. Thank you. And I assumed, this is what I saw. This is AA. They love you. I assumed the first hand would be a guy. You got thrown out of the Marine Corps? That means you're available, right? Hey, I'm the president of a huge corporation. I need a guy like you. Would $60,000 a year and a car be all right? That's what I kind of thought would be what would happen at that meeting, all right? And so they call on the guy over here, and he's got his hand up. Thrown out of the Marine Corps, serenity prayer. That's what you got to do. Next guy's got his hand up there, thrown out of the Marine Corps. Double up on your meetings. You got a lot of time anyway. Third guy over here says, thrown out of the Marine Corps. Work with new people. Take your mind off of you. Oh, thank you. Last guy. Say the prayer of St. Francis. I think St. Francis was a Marine. Oh, thank you. So that was the plan for getting thrown out of the Marine Corps. I went home that night, and I said to myself, I don't think I explained myself very well. And because I heard pure gibberish from these people. I don't think they heard a word I said. So I never raised my hand again, and many, many years went by, 8 years, something like that. Now my whole marriage fell apart. Another guy's moving in. I'm out. Blah, blah, blah. You got a topic? Yeah, I got a topic. Getting thrown out of your own house. How about that? Thrown out of your own house. And they started around the room. You know what happened. Thrown out of your house, serenity prayer. That's what you have to do. Thrown out of your house. Double up on your meetings. You got lots of time. You can hang around the club. Work with new people. Stop thinking about yourself. And Prayer of St. Francis, he went through several divorces, the guy told me. And the last time I had my hand up, some more years go by, the real estate market dumped. I was an agent, a broker, and everything. I've got no money, and it's just like all this sobriety, and I'm borrowing $1 and all that. And so I said, okay, bankruptcy. I said, that's not a good topic. I said bankruptcy, and they started around the room. Serenity prayer is what you should do to go through bankruptcy. And the other guy said, well, you got to find a new person, take your mind off yourself. Yeah, I already know. Double up on your meetings. Go to eating meetings where they have sandwiches because you don't have any money. Say the prayer of St. Francis. He took a vow of poverty. So it's just... So what do we find out? We find out that we have one solution. That's what we find out. We have this one all-powerful solution. And if we stay in that, it doesn't matter what's going on. It really doesn't. We're at the end of the time, and I always read something out of, this is not out of AA, but I have it pasted in my 12 and 12. It was in Time magazine when John Lennon was shot, and I hadn't heard the words to Watching the Wheels. So I'm going to read it twice. People asking questions, lost in confusion. Well, I tell them there's no problem, only solutions. I'm just sitting here watching the wheels go round and round. I really love to watch them roll. No longer riding on the merry-go-round. I just had to let it go. And the second time, people asking questions, lost in confusion. Well, I tell them there's no problem, only solutions. I'm just sitting here watching the wheels go round and round. I really love to watch them roll. No longer riding on the merry-go-round. I just had to let it go. It has been a great pleasure to be here for these 12 weeks, and I hope that in some way that something that has been said was useful and that we can really enjoy the rest of this journey together towards this great destiny that everybody in this room has. Thank you. We got a way to wrap it up.